Welcome to the Beyond Cinema and Bio.com studio up here at TIFF. Peter, Elisa, and Gerard. Holy crap balls, dude. What happened last night? That movie's insane, in a good way. So, I mean, I was at Slam Dance actually when Tony was playing.
Yes.
And so I've seen you guys work together before, but what made you want to take this dance down this kind of sick and twisted path yet again?
Sick and twisted. Well, we had this idea before Tony of the corrupt policeman. It was always, I mean, the short synopsis is London Bad Lieutenant, really, but it was based on this guy that we both knew socially quite a few years ago, about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago. We met him sort of in around the party scene, and he was like this larger-than-life character. Up until that point, I wasn't that interested in police as, the police, you don't see that they're quite, a lot of police are very official, they do their job, but they're very sort of bland, they like to, fit in. But this guy was completely different. He was like out of control. And we found out, after knowing him for a little while, his girlfriend told us, she said, look, I think you should know that he's a policeman. He's sort of an undercover cop. And that made him even more interesting, because this guy was a party animal, and he'd be out all night, and then he would put on his leather jacket and he'd go to work, arresting bad guys. But he was also corrupt, he was up to all sorts of things. So he became the basis of a corrupt police. And I always wanted to do a corrupt police story which wasn't one cop. A lot of the stories we see, it's always there's one bad apple, but I wanted to show that it's never just one. It's a whole disease, if you like.
Yeah, and it took a while before Stephen Graham gets introduced, to the party as well.
Well, yeah, you think Michael's the worst it can get, and then Stephen Graham turns up, David Knight turns up, like, oh God, it's even worse.
Yeah. Well, talk about Michael Logan for a sec. How do you go about just owning that space? Because there's a sense of playfulness about him too, until he...
Playfulness?
Yeah.
Well, initially, in the beginning, yeah.
So how do you go about owning that physicality?
Well, I think what was... the first thing was, I did put on a bit of weight, because both John and I felt that he needed to be bulky. Those guys that take doors off hinges, in the drug squad, or back in the 80s and 90s, it's the flying squad, and they're predominantly big guys, so I'm naturally quite slim, so I thought it was important to put on a bit of weight, and I thought that gave me a bit of confidence. And as the crew are all, they're not slight, they're all hefty guys, so that was really important, I think, just to have a bit of weight around me. And then I think just trying to get a real understanding of what it is to be a police officer, rather than just play acting it. Gerard obviously did a lot of research, and we both did, and went out on raids with the police, and just got a real strong understanding of being a police officer, and that just gave me the confidence.
And that was in London?
Yeah. Well, actually, no, we couldn't get... we couldn't go to the Metropolitan Police in London because there's too much...
They have a press office, and it becomes loads of red tape, because it's obviously everyone wants to, shadow the Met.
Yeah.
So we were lucky enough to have a contact outside of London, so we went...
Suffolk or something?
Yeah, Suffolk, Constabulary, yeah. So we went out on raids with them, didn't we?
Yeah, we hanged out with the drug squad and also the vice squad, different sections. But that was brilliant,
So helpful, yeah.
Did they treat you respectfully, or...?
Oh, it were good. It did change both of our outlook of how actually hard they work, you know what I mean? It's and it's also a very exciting job, I mean, obviously we weren't there for a lot of the paperwork, we just went on the raids and, but it was, you could see why these guys love it, and it becomes their life.
When I was watching the film, I was jotting down kind of just visual cues and things that were reminding me of other things, and one of them was Eastern Promises, and then I saw in Elisa's credits that she was in that film as well, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
It's the first thing I ever got cast in, yeah. It was the first thing I ever got cast in a tiny, tiny part, and it was then that I actually got familiar. Well, I mean, I knew about human trafficking, but that I really looked into it. in a sort of, not that I needed it for that part at the time, but just out of interest. And then a few years later, Gerard came along, and I was like, yeah, I know about human trafficking actually, and then looked at it in a completely even deeper way. And yeah, and I think with Gerard's film, on that side of the story anyway, it was about, I mean, Eastern Promises, you know, talks about the subject, but it's about other things as well. Somehow, this was about showing it how it really, really is. Yeah, and
Was
that's
that
not done in film that much. It's been done a few times, but not, yeah.
Not as forthrightly.
Exactly.
Did you, was that the first time you saw the film last night in its entirety?
No,
or?
I saw it. I saw it in Edinburgh when we opened it.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
He got me to come along to a screening before to make sure it'd be okay. Watching it, yeah.
How different is it, like seeing it, I guess, in the UK, although it seems like Scotland might not be part of the UK for too much longer.
Don't know about that.
In the UK, or you know, bringing it to like a North American audience.
Well,
and you experienced it last night.
it's always great that I found that with Tony as well. It's great. You do get a different reaction from different audiences, and it's great. And things like humour really travel, because when we went to Utah, and also when we went to Austin with the first film, I wasn't sure whether that humour would travel, because it's quite a British sort of humour, and it really did, you know. There's like big cowboys coming up to us and going, "I love your movie, man. It's great," you know. So it does. So you find that.
Wait, what was that? Your impersonation of?
Yeah, it was a terrible. I won't bother.
That was a Utah cowboy. Was that your Utah cowboy?
No, this was Texas actually.
That was Texas,
but yeah, like, you know, these big guys, and you. So it does. You know, I thought American or Canadian audiences are very. You know, open, and the humour, like last night, it was quite good that there was, because there's not many laughs in Hyena, but there are some intentional.
Which is a funny thing to say, really, that there are not many laughs in Hyena.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Hyena is.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Talk about the title, because for me, I don't know if this is intentional, but you've gone from Mug to Tony to Hyena. You've gone, like, the next film obviously is going to be 6 letters long. But what significance does the title have for you?
Yeah, it's got. I mean, there's quite a few things tied to the title, really. I mean, obviously, hyenas are an amazing predator, and they get a bad rep because they're known as a scavenger, but they're not at all. They're the second most effective predator in Africa. They do hunt and they kill. The thing about a hyena, they will attack. If there's enough of them, they will take on a lion, and the lion will run off. But on their own, they're not quite a force. So Michael and his gang, they are untouchable. When Michael's away on his own, things start to unravel. He hides behind, you know, boxes when his friend is being butchered, and you know what I mean. So there's that side, that the hyenas the pack mentality. That also. Is symbolic to the Albanians, you know, the pack mentality. But also the hyena word is derived from the Greek, and it means pig. So the police force are known as pigs in the UK. Yeah.
Is this something you guys discuss, or is this something you find out when you go on film festival circuits and hear Gerard say something?
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's always good.
Yeah, that was the metaphor for the
metaphor,
piece, yeah.
and I was very I didn't want it mentioned. I didn't want people to, you know, it's like, oh, let's put it up. But there are hyena noises throughout the film, very subtle things in
Really?
You know, yeah, there's subtle hyenas, laughs and screams. And
All through all your scenes, it's.
No, not no, with the, you know,
With the cops, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for you, I mean, you know, for me, I was going to say, you know, it was Eastern Promises, and it was like Irvine Welsh's film, like books that have been made into movies as well. Do you have kind of a visual palette or a lookbook that you kind of create?
Yeah, I mean, we looked. I mean, a lot of the French policiers, like things like Le Valence and the original Police with Gerard Depardieu, that sort of stuff. Films like Christiana F. You know, the Berlin film shot in Berlin, Killing of a Chinese Bookie. There was a lot a lot of stuff we looked at, but a lot of documentaries, police documentaries. There's a documentary from the 80s called Police, and incredibly important for the look of the film. The film is a TV series called Law and Order. It was in the 70s in the UK. Brilliant TV series, hardly ever seen. So but Melville came into it, that wanting to make something that felt European, but setting it in London and making London a central character in the film is important, and not making it look like a London film that's out there.
Do you live in London?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you go home to sleep at night, or did you all rally in some sort of group headquarter hotel thing?
During the movie?
Yeah.
No, I went home.
It was night shoots,
Yeah.
predominantly. It was like shooting at night, split days. So, I went home but I stayed in a hotel a few nights because I was getting a turnaround, 11-hour turnaround. So I'd stay close to the unit base a few nights here and there. So,
Does it help you to be off on location versus at home, just in terms of not having to deal with ordinary stuff?
yeah, definitely, because you can't think about anything else.
Yeah.
If you're at home, you tend to be a bit distracted, but if you're away, you've got nothing else to think about but the work.
And then moving from films like, obviously from Tony, onto like a huge set like Snow White, and then coming back to something like this, and what's that life like for you?
I prefer things that are a bit more real. Yeah, that kind of stuff's great, but being on a real location, it can only feed you as an actor, rather than being on a huge set with green screens and things like that. Every location was real, so that's fantastic.
And in the next film, you're doing a Robert De Niro biopic.
No. I just finished High Rise, which is a J.G. Ballard novel, that was all set. That was all beautifully designed sets by Mark Tildesley, set in the 70s, and they were amazing sets. You really felt you were in that time, but no.
And Gerard wants us to make sure that you either bust out a Pacino or a De Niro for our fans and friends.
He was doing it off camera.
Yes.
Well,
You'll let Elisa answer that.
yeah. He doesn't really speak that much.
That's true. He doesn't speak.
Final Bio.com question of the day is, if you could work with anyone, alive or dead, who would it be? Outside of this room,
Brando.
right now.
Yeah. Well,
Melville. No, I can't say.
I have no idea. There's loads of people.
Elisa Trees. First person that comes to mind.
James Dean. There we go.
oh yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful.
Mr. Johnson.
Or Marilyn Monroe, actually.
Oh,
Fuck it,
wow.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, she'd be amazing.
Orson Welles would be an interesting character. I don't know if I could probably work with him. That'd probably do me.
Collaborate or to direct it?
Well, this is it. Sort of, I think I'd like to have dinner with him at least.
Very cool.
What about
Hitchcock.
what about
Oh, now we've got plenty of
Kinski?
ideas.
Klaus
Klaus Kinski.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All the light, fluffy.
No, he's a great actor, but I do.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks for coming in, guys.
Cheers.
Congratulations
Thank you
on the
very
movie.
much.
It's
Thank
awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
That was great.
Cheers.